Hello, everybody, and happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the show. I don't even think the music was playing on the intro, but that's what the outro is for. Welcome to the Motor Stardom Show. It is Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. We just had an all-star weekend at North Wilkesboro. We're coming up on the Coke 600 weekend. We're coming up on the Indy 500. We're coming up on the Monaco Grand Prix for Formula One, but we're obviously here to talk about some NASCAR, maybe some Indianapolis 500. I would have loved to be in North Carolina for this week. I was going to, but unfortunately some things came up and I had to serve chicken. But I will bring in two guys that are in North Carolina, Mason Maggio and Stephen Laws. How we doing, boys?
I'm doing good, RJ. It's race weekend in North Carolina, and on top of that, it's one of the greatest weekends in racing, like you said, with all three fantastic events between three major series. So awesome weekend. Excited to see what it holds, and looking forward to seeing the outstanding spectacles in each respective series.
And for you, Stephen.
Give me 1 minute.
Oh, okay. Anyways, Stephen has had a fun day, I assume, at the RBR shop today, based on the apparel. That's what we got going on here. Okay, I figured you guys weren't too far away from each other.
No, we were not.
I'm doing great because Mason Maggio is living the dream, and we are in the same building right now. Doesn't get any better than that. Life doesn't get better than that.
Can't say anything too stupid, or else someone's going to go over somewhere and
beat some ass.
There's going to be physical repercussions.
Yes. Yes. Maggio, I know we talked a little pre-show about what you wanted to chat about. I think maybe since you're wearing the polo and clearly we're in the same building, maybe you should just, say what you wanted to say.
Yeah, right? I guess so. He's going to spoil the surprise, but we're back truck racing this weekend. Excited to be back with Williams Brothers Racing this weekend in the number 22 truck. We've got Control Alt Protect, a brand new partner of mine, jumping on board for their first of two races this year that they're going to be partnered with me. So excited to be back with Josh and the whole gang. Looking forward to being back in a truck at a place that I truly enjoy, and that's Charlotte Motor Speedway. We've had a lot of speed there in the trucks the last couple of years, so excited to be back and hoping we can get a good result together. I know these guys are hungry just as much as I am, so we're going to have some fun this weekend on a Friday night and hopefully come away with a good result for the team.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys have been plotting about that all day. Mason Maggio is back in the number 22 for Williams Brothers Racing. I mean, how do you feel being back in the truck? Obviously, you did, Daytona earlier in the year, but that's Daytona now. You're kind of back home with Williams Brothers Racing and big old Josh Riom over there in Charlotte.
Yeah, no, it feels good. I mean, as you guys know, I got my start in NASCAR with this group and been back and forth with them, a lot over the last couple of years. Thankfully, Control Alt Protect came on board as a partner with me this year, and I was looking for a ride for Charlotte, and Josh had coincidentally given me a call and said, "Hey, the original plans I had, they're not working out. Do you have any interest in driving the 22 truck this weekend?" So I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So Control Alt Protect was all about it with going and running a truck race, and we managed to put the deal together about a week ago. So. Very excited to be back. Big thank you to Josh and everybody at RBR for the opportunity and for giving me that call. Even when I'm not driving for these guys, I consider them family. And, I have a tight relationship with everybody over here. So it's really cool whenever I can come back and, just be able to have some fun with and see some familiar faces, work with some familiar people. And hopefully we'll have a good weekend. That's the goal. Is Josh wants to continue to build the program, show what we can do with his truck program, and hopefully we can put some good results together, a good run together, and be able to hopefully build on what I would hope would be some more races in the future.
Hell yeah, and that's what we love to hear. Mason Maggio has amazing partners, including our great people at Densey, who are also sponsoring the Motor Star. Oh baby, yeah, there we go. Okay,
yeah. You see this?
Boys, let's expand on this here. There we go.
And
The Density energy pouches.
You know what? The only flavor I don't have is that blueberry ice. I didn't have the one that you just showed on screen, so this works out perfectly right here because me and Maggio got the Chaos Cola and the Viking Energy. Now, let me say something. How does Densey know what Viking Energy tastes like? Because the Vikings have been dead for a while now. So, like, what encapsulates Viking Energy? I don't know. I've had the Chaos Cola. It's why I'm so amped up today. It's why I just walked in to tickle Maggio. Because these things loaded with the caffeine. They got your daily punch. They pack the punch. The pouch that packs a punch. Density Energy pouches, baby. I'm feeling
Listen, we got a Viking on the can, and listen, the whole reason we call it Viking Energy, we're embracing the Viking spirit. That's what Density Energy pouches is all about. Wow. So we got our Chaos Cola and our Viking Energy with us today. Got Steven hooked on it today as I came by the shop. So trying to get the rest of the guys at the shop on it as well. And we're good. We got some more flavors on the way too. So I'm excited to try those here within the next couple of weeks. And big thank you to Density Energy Pouches for not only supporting me, but for supporting the Motor Stardom show and being a great partner with us. So looking forward to trying some more flavors, doing some cool stuff, and continuing to build on the relationship from here. It's been awesome.
This is not the light of God you see behind me. It's the light of Density Energy Pouches. That's what it is, man. It's shining through the window. It's shining all around. Density, baby. Thanks for being a great partner to the Motor Stardom show. We got a quick question in the chat. Checkered Flag Dan, who watches like every week, think he's entitled to his questions when he wants. Loyal viewer. He wants to know if we're going to Charlotte. Maggio's in the 22 for RBR. I, undisclosed, am going to Charlotte. Don't know what I'm doing at Charlotte yet, but am going to be at the racetrack Friday and Saturday. So that's it. RJ is not going because he lives in Florida and has a job serving people their beloved fried chicken.
Yes.
How are we starting off? What are we talking about today? What are we doing?
So we will be bringing in our wonderful guest, Jason Alexander, for a little bit here in the middle of the show to talk about his weekend at North Wilkesboro. We'll talk about that truck race and that finish as well with him when he comes in here. But the one point that we can talk about before he comes in here, obviously, we'll do an Indy 500 preview at the end of the show, a Coke 600 preview at the end of the show, previewing for Prime. But let's do a little tiny recap in North Wilkesboro before we get Jason in here. Well, we had the promoter's caution for the first time, and I wanted to know everybody's thoughts on that. Obviously, I had talked about it on the radio yesterday. I was a little mixed. I don't really care. It's an exhibition race. It's like, the All-Star race, whatever. I don't care as much as it would have been in a regular season points race, but you guys can have the floor, whichever one wants to go first.
I will. I'll go first because I'm very passionate about a lot of stuff in pretty much all of life. It's a pointless event, right? And in this point, it is. We have 22 of the 36 cars, who are racing week in, week out. It's not an all-star race, right? Imagine if the MLB All-Star Game had half the league go. Nobody would really care. Like, we're not watching the best play. The point of the All-Star Game in other leagues is to combine the best players from each team and get them all to watch to play on one super team. That's the idea behind it. That's not what the All-Star race was. NASCAR came up with a brilliant idea to make it not a points race and make the only thing that matters winning, which in the 70s and 80s was phenomenal because it was a huge cash prize. Now, $1 million, and like, this is not me saying like, oh, $1 million is not a lot of money. This is me saying for professional motorsports, for professional athletes in 2025, $1 million is not a lot of money. Like, it is not something to get excited about for a pay-to-win race at this point for these guys. It's not something worth passion, worth wrecking a race car over for a lot of them, and they're finding ways to spice it up. Wilkesboro last year was a great idea for the All-Star race. Great idea for the All-Star race. And I applaud NASCAR for that one because I am on a big shit on NASCAR train a lot of days, but you have to applaud them when they do something right. That was a phenomenal idea. However, making the race a complete gimmick is not the way to attract viewers. And I'm okay with a couple of them, but I think the much better route to make the All-Star race worth it is two things. One, up the payout. Do what you did, make it worthwhile again, okay? Make it a $3 million race. Two, go to tracks that we need to see out there. Do what you do with the Clash, right? Like, and I see kind of what their strategy is. I think they seem to be migrating towards this. Let's have a permanent all-star race idea, and let's rotate the Clash. Rotate them both. There's plenty of racetracks that people want to see NASCAR go to, and it's awesome across the board to go to them. And I'm not sure that Wilkesboro in no regards should be run off the schedule, but making a race a gimmick is going to do nothing but confuse fans and make it be like, well, why is this an all-star race? That's how I feel about it. That's where I am. Some things to applaud, some things to frown upon. I think the biggest problem is raise the money and give the drivers some passion to race about. $1 million doesn't cover a third of a full-time truck season into good equipment, right? Like that's where we are, right? Like that's what $1 million is. So let's take a step back, review the purse money, and sort of find a more strategic way to make it interesting that doesn't involve altering physical racing, because racing fans love racing. They don't want to see gimmicks. And it's laughable. You look on Twitter, you know how much attention Michael Waltrip got for dropping this promoter's flag? Way too much. It actually quite literally overshadowed what was a pretty decent race at the end of the day. And kind of the number one thing I saw was, MW dropped the fake caution. So I don't know. Maggio, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think North Wilkesboro as a racing product was really good. I think it's hard to deny that. I felt like the racing was what fans have been wanting to see, particularly with the next gen car that we've been struggling with. And we've talked about it over and over about how the next gen car and short tracks are like oil and water, right? But this time we actually had a pretty good race overall. I mean, the qualifying races were pretty good. I was pretty entertained the whole time. Seeing who was saving, who wasn't. That was something that I thought was really interesting, was the different strategies that played into it. I do agree with the fact, Stephen, that I think we need to switch it up a little bit and give tracks that wouldn't have that opportunity to be on the NASCAR schedule that opportunity. I would love to see something like that. Like you said, we've seen it with the Clash so far. And to be honest with you, I view the All-Star race almost similar as the Clash, except it's, oh, by the way, here's $1 million on the line, which is still cool. But at the same time, in the day and age that we're at, that doesn't really do anything as far as for the teams. Like it helps, don't get me wrong, but you don't see these smaller
nice
teams,
bonus, right?
It's a nice bonus, yes, but you don't see teams really like going hard and giving it their all to try to be a part of that event, right? Like I don't see any extra cars showing up to even try to race their way or qualify their way into the All-Star race, because it's not risk. It's not worth bringing a car that you might need for the next week and potentially tear it up, right? So I think we got to look at that as an opportunity to say, hey, what's a way to attract more cars, more people to want to do the All-Star race? And to my point about the racing product, I felt like it was good enough to where we didn't need the competition caution there. We've seen that with ARCA. We've seen that with certain late model events where they throw out a competition caution to try to bunch the field up, make it more exciting. If anything, I don't think we really needed that, because that's taking away from the actual racing product that we saw, which was pretty good in my opinion. And we made it a gimmick. And like you said, all I've seen is Michael Waltrip dropping the caution flag. Right. I've literally not seen anything about Christopher Bell and what happened with Joey Logano, nothing like that. Like, it's just all been, here's Michael Waltrip dropping the caution flag. That's a joke. That's funny. And we can't, as a sport, we can't have that. I feel like that was a step in the right direction, but there's obviously room for improvement, just like with anything, right? There's pros, there's cons. And I guess for me, I feel like we're on the right track, but there is room for improvement, to cut a long story short.
Yeah, I would say certainly it sucks when the headline is the wrong thing than it should, because yeah, it was a great race, I think, from start to finish. Obviously the caution caused the finish that we had, but kind of like somebody alluded to, I think in the post race, I think Christopher Bell could have gotten there anyways. We still would have had a good finish. It was good to see multiple grooves. But another great weekend at North Wilkesboro, and we know they'll be back next year. What fashion will it be? Will it be a points race? Will it be an all-star race? We'll see. But for the moment, without further ado, we will bring in a man who did compete this weekend at North Wilkesboro, friend of Mason Magoo, uh, Jason Alexander. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much for having me on board. Super excited to be here.
And you raced at North Wilkesboro this weekend. Obviously, you got to be there. One of the people that have now in the 3 truck races that we've had there since the return, right? Or is it just 2? 3, right?
It's been 3, yeah.
Yeah, it's been 3. So since the 3 races, you've been able to compete in one of them. How was it going to that historic racetrack that obviously has been repaved over the years, but is aging really, really fast?
Yeah, I mean, man, it was so cool to be there for starters. I mean, being from North Carolina myself, driving past North Wilkesboro for years and years and years, I always wondered what it was, when it would be back. So now that it's back and in NASCAR, as a North Carolina boy, that was huge. And being a part of that event was another, great opportunity to be there. And the fans were, for starters, just unreal. For the truck race we had, almost a sold out crowd. So that was, immediately from the get go, it was electric and really, really fun racing. Being a driver part of it, my second truck race, being able to be out there and use multiple different grooves was really cool, especially at a short track, and it's so much faster than any other short track I've ever been a part of. Was with that, repave. So it was a really cool experience, and definitely learned so much. And really hope that trucks go back there again next year, because I'd love to be a part of it again.
Yeah, beautiful truck as well, as you can see here. The constant
you.
contact. They've been an amazing partner of yours as well, which I think is really cool as you've come along in the racing, surface. Obviously, you've done a lot of things before, which we'll talk about as well. But what has it been like, obviously, to have a premier partner with you? Because we know how important sponsorship is and what that has meant to your journey so far.
Yeah, sponsorship is everything, as you alluded to, and having constant contact on board. They came on board for us last year and put me in a position to go race into ARCA, which is something I never thought I had a chance to do. And then after a successful year last year, they decided, hey, let's come on board and see if we can go do some truck racing. So it's really cool. What they do is they specialize in digital marketing, especially for like small businesses. It's kind of their motto. So they do everything. We like for Jason Alexander Racing, for example, we have a mailing list that we send out emails weekly to our fans, whether it's just an update of what we're doing, a schedule update. Maybe it's a free merchandise code or giveaways, all that stuff we send out to our mailing list. We run all of our social media through their app, and really drive a lot. Everything we do on the kind of the digital media side, we drive through what they do. So not only is it great to have a partner that supports me in racing, but also has helped transform everything we do on kind of the digital marketing side as well. And not only that, every race we show up to, we have a booth in the fan zone, and so I was there all weekend interacting with fans, giving away a bunch of free stuff, giving away $1,000 worth of stuff. It was great. Just to be out there, and they support racing like no other. Every investment they make into me, they're gonna make right back into the fans. So it's really cool to see they do that.
Yes, sir.
Yep, absolutely.
Take the floor.
Yeah, Jason, you're a man that has worn a lot of hats, and I've seen that firsthand, from being a marketing guy to doing an intern, funny enough, at the shop that me and Steven are both at. And then on top of that, now being a race car driver and having the opportunity to compete, whether it's trucks, ARCA, late models. I mean, you've worn a lot of hats in the sport and have been somebody that has truly hustled to be where you're at. So kind of talk to us about that a little bit, how, kind of wearing all these different hats and doing all these different things in the sport has helped get where you are today.
Yeah, and it's a really great question. So, my journey into racing has been really different than a lot of the people. I didn't start racing until I was 19. I hopped straight into a pro late model. In my very first race, Mason's father pulled me out of a car that was on fire. So, it's really cool to see how things have gone. And, I didn't race growing up, and I didn't have that opportunity. So I really tried not to take it for granted, but I'm a part-timer when it comes to racing. I don't get to race that often, and it's thankful to the partners that I do have. But off the track, I run a NASCAR agency. I have different drivers that I help out, like Mason Maggio and a bunch of other guys that whether it's trying to find sponsors or putting a deal together or just helping out with some social media. We do everything on our end. to help on the business end. And that's kind of how I got my start into NASCAR because I couldn't pay for it. And I wasn't driving yet, so I didn't have a brand to build off of. So, I decided, hey, let's just start selling sponsorship for other drivers and, keeping some of the commission so I can put myself in a race car. So doing that for the last couple of years has really grown, not only my understanding of the business side of racing and how to make lasting partnerships work, but also, be able to be behind the scenes and seeing how the racing side works, and it all comes together. When I first got to Charlotte, I didn't know what I was doing, and Mason mentioned it. I got an internship for RBR, just sweeping up floors, picking up trash whenever I could do, and then, eventually grew to, I was the guy racing, and it's been a really cool journey, to say the least.
That story sounds eerily familiar. I'm not going to lie to you. I had no idea that you also did that path, which was quite literally, and I only know this because I obviously looked you up before you came on the show. So that means you were at RBR around like 2020, right?
Yeah, 2021. Yeah.
That means like you were the guy who did the internship, like swept the floors, did all that stuff, left, and then I came in and took your job as the floor sweeping free unpaid guy, which I think is totally bizarre. I did not know that anybody else had that similar pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of love to hear that story. That's really cool. And obviously it's cool because Mason and I are shitting. Mason and I are sitting in the Ryan Brothers racing shop right now. So a lot of connections there. So North Carolina kid, kind of growing up, obviously in the center of stock car racing. What's your like lifelong goal in racing? Are you content kind of doing this mix between business and racing? If somebody came and said to you, "Hey, I've got full time, but you got to drop everything else. You're going racing full time." Like, what do you want to do? What's like the love here?
Yeah, I think honestly the whole business aspect of racing is super interesting, but I went that route to try and create a racing career for myself, and very very few limited starts under my belt, and I'm so thankful to get the 3 that I get to do this year. But I think if anyone came to me and said, "Hey, let's go do this thing full time," that's obviously the goal. As a business guy myself, every day I'm looking for new partners to try and push eventually towards that full time effort. And I think there could be a lot of success in doing that. So at the end of the day, that's the end goal. So I'll never be content. I'll keep pushing. One day, I'd love to, start running the bigger tracks. Go to Daytona, Talladega, Bristol, all these really cool big name places that I've always got to watch guys go to. I'd love to drive them myself. But of course, I'd love to run full time one day. But I'm never content on the business side either. We're still growing as a company. We're still growing as an organization, and seeing how high we can take this thing. So I'm not gonna let either side fall to the wayside until one really decides they're gonna take off instead of the other. So
yeah.
So that's another question that we'll have to ask Josh when he comes on here finally, whether it's next few weeks or next year, whenever Steven decides to get Josh on here. We can ask him who had the shiniest floors at the RPR shop.
It definitely wasn't Mason Maggio. That was a piece of shit. We literally, Maggio and I, as Josh was walking out about 10 minutes before showtime, we were razzing him about not coming on the show. Like, what are we doing? Why is he
told him to stick around to get a cameo real quick and then leave?
Oh no, he was like an hour late to get home. Like OG was ready to wring his neck because he said 2 minutes, 50 minutes before he actually ended up leaving. So there was no 10 more minutes out of JR. Jason, what was your experience like with Joshy? Honestly, I'm curious to hear what you kind of thought of him.
It was really great. I was back at the old shop before they moved to the new one. We were really more. Yeah. The team was much smaller. I was intern number 7, and that was my number. That's what I went by. And Josh was really cool, though. My first day showing up, he handed me the keys to the red dually and said, "Hey, can you take this motor about an hour away?" And I said, "You don't even know who I am, but sure. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the trust." So it was a really funny time, and I really enjoyed it. He took me on his wing, tried to teach me some more of the business aspects, and continues to talk to me on that even after my time at RBR. So, but he's definitely a character for sure. And the whole Rayum family, they're great people.
That's how it comes. He'll tell you to do a I hate the effing Giants. Go Birds, baby. The Giants suck. Also, Shane loves Maggio and Jason, but not me, I guess. I won't take offense to that, Shane. I'll
shout out Shane.
Shane,
my
I'll
boy.
get over Shane,
Yeah.
I'll get over that. I'll send you a blooming onion. We'll call it even. It'll be fine.
Shane's the mastermind behind all things Jason Alexander Racing.
Yeah.
He runs everything for us.
Does he really? So you
Yeah.
know who Shane is? Got it.
Yeah.
So I won't be that offended, but I will still send Shane a blooming onion so I can get added the next time he decides to comment that he loves everyone.
There you go.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, Jason, is that's funny because that must be like a canonic JR experience. He did the same thing to me where he's like, yeah, let's hop in a dually and go drive freaking however far away. And then we kind of just became friends after that. It was actually a hauler ride back from Knoxville was when that really changed. But he did the same shit with me with the dualies. Probably the same exact dually. It is definitely still the same dually.
100%. 100%.
100% the same dually, which I love the RBR connections here. It totally makes my day.
RBR starts careers, man. I'm telling you. Some of the best people I know in racing came from RBR.
America's crew chief, Amir Alexander.
Absolutely. We love Amir.
I don't know if any of you, I know for a fact you two have not had this experience. Amir Alexander I've had Amir Alexander as a crew chief, as team GM, and as a spotter. He spotted for me. And you know how many times he had to spot for me from Mason Maggio going around me on the inside? At least 15 times that happened that given day when he was spotting for me. So I know that Jason, actually all three of us too, I love this conversation. I really do. I'm enamored with it. I've all experienced fat Amir Alexander. And the reason why I refer to him as that is because of how hard that guy has worked to get in shape. And now he is sexy. Like guy looks fantastic. I know RJ's laughing because he's like, that is so true. He looks freaking phenomenal now, which is a crazy transformation over the 5 years that we have been kind of digging at RBR. So
Amir walked by me at Wilkesboro, and I'm like, that guy could beat my ass. He is jacked.
I'll be honest, Jason, you walked by me at Wilkesboro, and if I remember correctly, you are freaking hugely tall.
Yeah, 6'5".
Yeah, you are freaking massive. I'm like, who the fuck is this ginormous human being walking through the garage? Lo and behold, this guy who's coming on the show this week. I had no idea.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hell of a lacrosse player, too, by the way. Let's not forget about that. We got a D1 athlete here.
We're ready to have this conversation then, because don't worry, I got.
Oh my God!
Graphics ready.
That's gotta be like 2020 commitment post right there.
Yeah, that was the commitment post, baby. Did you know
that
this
out.
moment that you were going to be racing cars? What, 6 years later?
Absolutely not. I was like a 400 iRacing rated driver.
Me too.
I was nothing, man. That's really funny.
What school is this?
This is Queens University of Charlotte, so it's right in uptown Charlotte.
Got it. So I used to imagine. Did you play lacrosse?
I never did. No, I didn't have the balls for that.
I was wondering
Mason over here. So
Mason, what sports have you been an
Have
athlete?
you seen Mason Maggio?
I see him. He could play a sport. What? He's an athlete. Look at him.
I played sports. What are you talking about?
He's a NASCAR driver. He's a sport right
Besides racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I played
tennis.
I played tennis for years. I did soccer for a couple, basketball.
That's the most.
I did baseball when I was a little kid, like minor leagues. So it's
Maggio just led off this question with "I played tennis." That's
Maggio's serving heat, and I know he is.
As a matter, wait, hold on. Let me just add this too. I just realized Amir Alexander was in. He's actually leaving. I just watched him leave.
Tell him to come back.
Probably, I should have. Probably just heard us have that conversation about him. What I was going to say, Jason, is you are the stereotypical player. I also played lacrosse for years. You know how, like, when you're growing up, there's an A, B, and C team?
Yeah.
I was on the C team, and I was the kid who, when you went up like 12-2 on like some totally inferior team, that I would put at center attack, and they just throw me the ball and try and get me to score. That was me when I played lacrosse.
There you go.
What else? What I'll say is you and I, we'll have some one-on-one lacrosse drills. I'll smoke you. No problem.
Let's hit it. Let's hit the field.
It'll be game over.
Wow. So I've also found, I dug for a lot of pictures. Yeah, we brought up the lacrosse. I found this one as well with mustache.
Wow.
Mustache review. That's Shane right there, by the way. There he is.
Wow.
Okay, so we got Shane on the live. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's see. Oh, we got it. We got another comment in here. It said Mason used to dominate in 2-on-2 basketball. Tell him, Matt.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
get this
suck.
guy in the court.
I did not. I sucked hard, dude. It was not good. I was not good. There was one time, and I kid you not, I got hit in the face with the basketball in the same game twice. So I wouldn't call myself an expert on basketball, but I mean, I tell you what, I tennis was the one that I enjoyed the most. I'm trying to get into golf too. I don't know about you guys, but like golf's one that I'm trying to get, a little bit more involved in, trying to, work on that. Everybody, it seems like everybody's playing
Golf's
golf
a guilty
nowadays.
pleasure. If I can get out there on the course, it's a good
It
day.
is. Yeah.
I
Dude, I think it is
today,
for
I will
everybody
say.
deep down. Yeah.
I've
hooped today.
never been into golf, and like I kind of want to try it, but I don't have the money to just go buy clubs right now, so I'm kind of like holding off until I start working as a quote unquote real lawyer, whatever that means. And then once I do, I'm going to go buy clubs and learn how to do it. But like, clubs are it is crazy how expensive clubs are. It's nuts.
Yeah, you can rent clubs from a couple courses, and that's what I usually do until I have my own set. Yeah.
6'5" got to be difficult to rent. I actually have a friend who is 6'6" and plays golf, and he says that he cannot use any clubs but his own.
I need to get a customs pair, but that requires money that I don't currently have.
Exactly. Exactly. So.
And then the last other photo I had in here that I found, I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
I thought I in scrolling, I was like, what's he posting about Timmy Hill for? Like, what happened? And then I clicked on it, and then I'm like, that ain't Timmy Hill. That's Jason Alexander. But this actually goes with, I guess, what it seems like a funny story from that day, or an ironic or a crazy story. If you want to detail us on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was a
intimidator.
Crazy day, a crazy story in general. So that's before the Milwaukee truck race, which I got the call to come make my truck series debut in the 21, which Mason drove for majority of the year last year.
Yeah.
For Milwaukee, Mason wasn't able to drive because he was already driving for RBR. The driver couldn't make it anymore. So I'd worked with Scott before. Scott gave me the call. He's like, "Hey, dude, you're up." I'm like, "Awesome. I'll be there." There's only a couple issues. One, I wasn't approved to run trucks yet. Two, I hadn't done any of the licensing stuff for it at all. So I called Brett Bodine, who used to do our NASCAR licensing, and I'm like, "Hey, can I drive this first race of the playoffs for my first ever truck start?" He's like, "You know what? Well, let's make it happen." You're approved in R, and I had done enough in ARCA. We had run some bigger tracks, and I'd done well there, where he was like, "All right, I trust you enough to go." But the big issue was one, getting my physical done, two, doing the NASCAR drug test, which takes a week to come back. And if you didn't hear me say, this was 3 days before the race, so I didn't have a week of waiting time. So that same day, I got the call. I knocked out the medical, and then I went through and I knocked out the drug test. And then after that, it was a waiting game. I booked my flights. I ended up in Milwaukee, and I was there. And it was the day of practice, and we still hadn't gotten my drug test yet. And NASCAR was like, "You're not going to drive unless this drug test comes through." I had my ARCA one, but apparently it's a different one.
Stupid, by the way. So dumb.
Very stupid. And so I'm like, I'm going to keep waiting until practice starts. It was later in the day. I've been going back and forth with NASCAR, and Seth, who works with NASCAR Truck Series, we're keep waiting for it to come through. And so I was there waiting. Truck's going through tech, and it's time to get my gear checked. I'm like, great. I pull out my ARCA suit, and I'm like, we'll slap some logos on there, and they'll be okay with it. Wrong. The suit I had for ARCA wasn't legal to run trucks. So now I'm in Milwaukee without a suit. I'm 6'5". I don't even know if I'm going to be racing, but who comes in clutch? Carl Long and Timmy Hill, who we had parked right next to. I was with Carl Long, and we parked right next to Timmy Hill. Carl Long walks right up to Timmy. He says, "Hey, you got to give this guy a suit." Timmy goes right in the holler, comes right out. Fit me. He's a big dude. Probably it was one of the most comfortable fitting suits I ever had until I had to get my own Simpson suit this year because of that moment. It was so comfortable. Anyway, I'm sitting on pit wall in my Timmy Hill suit, and NASCAR finally comes through. Practice has already started, and NASCAR finally decides, we're just let this kid drive. And they put me in a truck and make our debut.
Man, wow, that's a story. So you're telling me all this approval process stuff that we talked about, this and that. Like our first ever guest was Tommy Joe, and he talked about how he got to 9 for making a cup start. He just had to call the dude and said, "Yo, let me race. Like, what's up?" And then and he's just like, all right, bet, sounds good.
I'll say that, getting approved for bigger stuff like Xfinity truck and Cup is a little bit different. It was a mile track for trucks, and I had a bigger 2.5 mile experience in ARCA.
Hey, I know I could probably get approved for ARCA by a phone call, so we can make it happen.
That is what's funny is you were joking. That it's not a joke. You could probably get approved for ARCA.
Absolutely could. Yeah, 100%.
Me and Crawl are tight.
There you go.
Make it happen. I'm gonna do one race before. I'm gonna just do one race at least. That's it. That's what Malazi said years ago, and then all of a sudden now he's a driver apparently. But I'm truly saying I'm gonna do one race, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Park it in victory lane and walk off in the sunset.
Exactly, that's the plan.
Even if you don't win, still park it in victory lane.
Yeah, that's fine. I was gonna say as long as you park it at the end of the race and don't have it towed away on a wrecker, you're probably fine.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
as long as it's whether it's an ARCA car or a street stock down here at Showtime Speedway in Clearwater, Florida, we'll certainly make it happen. But I do want to talk about something from the truck race that did happen towards the end. We had a finish that I'd love to get everybody's opinion on here, especially as we're all truck drivers.
baby.
Go ahead. We can go ahead and watch it together. As you can see here, Lane Riggs going to the inside of Corey Heim, who has lost a few of these, it seems like, this year. Just very slight contact, and then around he goes, and then coming down here into 3 and 4 basically gives his teammate the win. Chandler Smith, they drove it off in that. I don't know what. Maybe he was trying to do something there. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know.
RJ, I'll applaud you real quick, too. That was better commentary. Play it again with the commentary. All right. Yeah.
All right, guys, 1 lap to go, presented by Credit One Bank. I don't know if they're still the sponsor or not. Lane Riggs drives it in. He's going to slide it up almost into Corey Heim. They make contact, and around goes Corey Heim. His teammate now is going to get sent to the lead based on a move put on by Lane Riggs. He's got one more shot down here in 4. Almost gets there, but he doesn't. It's Chandler Smith, the fan favorite, is able to win this race here at North Wilkesboro.
Fox could pay you so much less than they pay a current group of broadcasters to do that, and that was excellent. That was great. That was that excitement in the voice.
Thank you.
What? Yeah. Well, anyways, we'll talk about the finish because I don't want to look at the past. The future is Amazon for now.
Not for this series.
Oh shit! You're totally right. Anyways, let's talk about the finish. Jason, you were in the race, so I think you go first.
So we had a penalty early on in the race. So by the end of it, by the last restart, we weren't competing with anyone really. We just we had to do a drive-through under green, and that took us down about 2 to 3 laps. So my spotter Ryan, before this last restart, comes on the radio and says, "Dude, you're gonna stay back because they're about to tear everything up. I know it." And I was like, "All right, Ryan, I trust you." So we stay back. I'm still going into 1 basically at this point, and he goes, "Holy shit, just stop the truck. They're all wrecking on the back stretch." Just stop it. Yeah, no, it was crazy. And the old additive is, 8 tires is better than 4. So I knew they were going to tear shit up. But honestly, it could have been worse. We were going pretty deep, and especially in that last lap, we could have tore up a lot of shit because of that. So thankfully we did not. And, before this fight, there's a funny clip of Shane and I in the background just going fight. Because I was parked right in front of Lane on pit road, and I was like, I want to see a fight. Let me get in there. And then,
yeah, he was parked all the way in the back. I don't know what led to that. I mean, you guys are drivers that do the cool down lap and come down pit road, but it was funny because on TV, obviously, Corey Heim's walking to the front of the grid, right? Like he's storming. He's got the army behind him, right? The Aura army that apparently all Tricon drivers just consist of when they're going to hunt somebody down for a short and simple conversation. Yeah. But then it was kind of like not that he lost Aura in the moment, but it kind of lost intensity where it's like, all right, I'm coming down. And it's like, shit, I got to turn around and then turn around. All right, here we go. And then it was weird. Why was he parked at the back?
I don't know, but I wonder how much momentum he lost in his anger. Like, I wonder if Imagine
Yeah.
if those two had come down pit road 1-2, right? Or like 2-3, right?
Oh yeah.
I wonder if Heim gets out and just starts swinging. Like,
yeah, I mean, he's gotta.
he's mad, right? But then he has 3 minutes to calm down while he walks down pit road, and I wonder if that changed. It's just like, hey, you're an idiot, man. Like, I'm gonna freaking dump you. Like, I wonder.
Halfway through that walk, I wonder if it came in his mind like, I should just turn around. This is long as hell to get down here.
Yeah, no kidding. I was also there. That's a big. I mean, that's like it's bigger than it looks. Like, it's not big, but it's bigger than it feels like it is on TV, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a long walk for him, at least from what it looked like, for sure. But as you can
Say
see,
a whole lot of nothing, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there I am.
Yeah, look at crazy.
there he is.
Crazy. Could you have a pointer so you could circle him for everyone? We all could see him, but like, I don't know if.
Do you have this clip? Because you can see I'm into just cheering my head off.
I don't have the
Yeah,
clip.
right. People see the truck. People just don't. I don't know if they see you cheering. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that finish. So like I'm pretty split. Like, I don't know that it was flat out dirty. It wasn't clean, but it wasn't like, oh, he drove it in from 3 car lengths. It wasn't Austin Dillon at Richmond, you know? Like, it was it's like Corey Heim left a pretty big door open there for somebody to slide in. And I kind of at a point where like I actually understand both sides, and I'm pretty inclined to say, nice. That was really good.
Good job.
I'm pretty inclined to say like a racing deal is a racing deal, right? Like that's sort of what happened. And like, to believe that Corey Heim might not have done the same thing, I think is a little. I'm not convinced that Corey Heim, if a door was left that wide open, wouldn't have driven a similar way. Like, look at how high Corey Heim goes in here. Look at that. There are car lengths there for lane rakes to drive it in. He doesn't really touch them. It's kind of just door to door. Like, if anything, it's slight contact. He squeezed him, right? Like, it's slight contact, and then Heim kind of loses it. Like, I'm not. Again, is it the cleanest move in the world? No. Is it a move that most drivers probably try if they're in that position? Yeah, I think it is. Like, I
mean, we're racing for the win at Wilkesboro. You can't open up the door. I think if they make even solid contact, more even, Heim doesn't even spin out here. I think he just uses the side of lane and just keeps going with momentum.
1,000%. 1,000%. I think the big mistake was Heim opening the door. And if the other thing is too, right? If Heim stays mid-track and sort of pinches him and Lane just runs him up, then he totally is more justified in being angry. But he left him the entire racetrack to do whatever he wants, and he took it all. So
that was the pass that I saw people make all day long, especially when I was around the leaders, is they were, one was up top and one was diving down to the bottom and trying to make a pass even. So, it wasn't anything different. I think Lane just sitting in there harder than usual. We're racing for the win. Right. I don't necessarily think his intention was to take him out. It just was to take the space that was given to him.
Yeah. I think if you go back to the last few laps of the All-Star race, I feel like I haven't even watched the move back, but from what I can remember, I think that's literally similar to the move that Christopher Bell put on Joey Logano, in my opinion, where Logano ran him hard, squeezed him down to the bottom, which I think was the right move. He didn't leave the bottom open. He kind of ran him down. You knew it was going to be hard to pass Logano. He also was on older tires, but I think Bell did basically the same thing, just came in there, squeezed him, and said, hey, I'm taking this spot, or I'm going to attempt to try my hardest to take this spot, and took the spot. I didn't have an issue with what Christopher Bell did. Obviously, Joey Logano was very upset with that, the promoter's caution, all of this stuff. Joey Logano does love the playoff format, though, but did not like the promoter's caution and the Christopher Bell's move. But that's nonetheless, I think it was almost similar, and it wasn't blatant by what Lane Riggs did. We can go back to the Kansas finish and talk about that separately, like driving it in there and getting into Hocevar. I think that's honest. I think that was more worse than what we saw at Wilkesboro. And I love Heim Time. Heim Time's an absolute dog on the racetrack. But at the end of the day, I think it was just racing for the win, short track race. And I think Heim, if I had to guess, Heim has looked at it, watched it back now, and probably has a different opinion on that heat than he did on Saturday for that race, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's tough when you're on Corey's side of the fence. And Corey's side of the fence, you're looking at it and saying, "Oh, he sent it in there. He was never going to make it." You know, and then Lane could be looking at it, and I think this is how he continues to look at it. Is Lane says, "Hey, we're going for the win in North Wilkesboro," and on top of that, I got to try something because obviously Heim was super quick. He's always fast, and he's going to be a tough customer to get around. So I don't think it definitely wasn't intentional. It was a racing deal. But something that we saw this past weekend was almost like a mile and a half style of racing where guys would sometimes rip the top, sometimes rip the bottom. They would have pull slide jobs and stuff like that on each other to try to ruin the momentum off of the guy that's running on the top. So, I mean, I don't fault Lane for trying, especially the last 2 weeks. I think he's been extremely fast, and we're seeing Lane Riggs truly excel as a race car driver. Same thing with Corey Heim. I think both of them are going to be very successful, but I don't think it was intentional by any stretch of the imagination. It was just kind of a situational thing where two guys that are obviously really good were going for the win, and a mistake is made. And let's not forget, too, like on the top groove of the racetrack, there are marbles that are sitting up there. So if anything, I don't think it was caused by Lane. I think it was just him moving him up the track just enough to where Corey just got into the marbles and lost it. So I don't fault anybody for that whole ordeal. It was a racing incident. It's a shame that it happened because I think it would have been an amazing finish with those two side by side. But at the end of the day, you're going for a win in one of NASCAR's top 3 series. If you have the opportunity to at least try something, if I'm as a driver, and I think I could speak on Jason and Steven's behalf, if I know I've got an opportunity, but it's a 50-50 shot if it works out, you're still going to give it a try because the worst thing as a race car driver is getting out of your car and saying there was more left on the table that I could have taken and I didn't take it.
Absolutely.
Like if you don't do that stuff, then you're not doing it right. So I think nobody's fault. It sucks that it happened, but I don't think opinions are going to change. But I think I'd be curious to see what the relationship or potentially the rivalry that we're going to see out of Riggs and Heim. Obviously, two very fast drivers that are going to probably start making some enemies out of each other because they are fast and they are aggressive. So I'm curious to see how that translates throughout the rest of the year.
Sorry. Okay, I'll take it. Those would be the two things that I would add to that. One is these two are honestly, like, I know Lane isn't high up in the standings right this second. I think they're two of my 3 championship favorites in the truck series, Lane and Heim. Like
100%.
Lane is not, and obviously Lane had the DQ,
yeah.
but also is not. He did not have a great start to the season, so I think that he is going to be a contender at the end of this year.
Yeah.
And this is just something that's boiled over. 2, the dynamic between these two and these two drivers in general is we've seen now Lane Riggs twice in a row try to or come close to wrecking somebody for a win. He will go as far as he can go. And by the way, where it's due, he didn't wreck either one of them either time. I think Heim kind of lost it on this one. I don't know that was so much Lane wrecking him. And 2, we've seen Corey Heim, who should probably have 7 wins this year, give a few of them away. So those are just 2 things to keep an eye out in my mind in storylines that we have throughout the season.
I don't know about giving away is the right word, but I definitely feel like just the opportunity like just the execution, right? As we know, like you've got to have all the pieces of the puzzle fit together to put these races together. But I mean, it's just I think Heim's just been a victim.
All right, Your Honor. All right, Your Honor. I'll rephrase, Your Honor. The 11 team has given a few of them away. Better?
The team. I would agree with that.
Because the pit crew gave away Kansas. That was on the pit crew, right?
So,
correct. Yeah, absolutely. Homestead was a mechanical issue.
Right? This one was RBR.
This
Yeah,
one
I
was,
think
this
it was
was
an
great.
RCR
To
cost caution.
Steven's point about being on the placing of the racetrack, and that's kind of what I'm thinking is like Mason said, it was like almost like a mile and a half race in a short track, right? We had cars running up at the top and the bottom. Those cars running up at the top though weren't necessarily exiting high, and I think that plays into this because where Heim got put, Riggs didn't put him in the fence. He squeezed him, but just because of how the track was, the race surface was, there was probably hella marbles up there because nobody was exiting right there where Heim is
Correct.
right now. And it just results in him getting all the way up there. And then, he's above obviously that darker portion of the track where all the rubber is. And that just led to him getting loose. Anybody that was up there, we saw it in the cup race. We saw it in the truck race as well. Anybody that got too far up there on entry or exit, they were loose, spinning in the marbles, in the wall. Made for a really interesting dynamic because you were kind of diamonding the corners, but he just was in no man's territory, no man's land, and unfortunately, it just resulted in him spinning out. He's going to be upset about it. I think he looks at it differently now, but we'll see as time goes on, right? It's kind of like this little younger. I want to say younger. I mean, I know some of these guys are older than some people we have in the upper series, but think about Heim's rivalry with Hocevar when Heim does get to the Cup Series. Even Heim and Eckes at the top. You just naturally kind of butt heads when you're competing up at the top. And now Heim and Riggs are kind of button heads a little bit. You don't want to compare it to the aura of Kyle Busch versus Keselowski, Logano, all that stuff, Carl Edwards. But I think it is interesting how, they're not completely nice to each other, which I think is good.
I think it's because Corey, too, is the cream of the crop. Like every year. If Corey Heim were in a points format, Corey Heim would be, I think, a 3-time truck champion, if I'm not wrong. Like, not – I don't really know. Like, everybody aspires to be like the 11th, I think, in the truck series with how consistently they run and how well they run. I was looking at it, and it was something like Corey Heim, I think, is more likely to win than he is to not finish in the top 10. And, like, that's insane. That is an unbelievable statistic. And, like, Guy is going to be Guy, if he continues down the path he is on, will be a Cup champion or a champion at least the truck or Xfinity level and a Cup winner at some point in his career.
I mean, I'll say, like, he dominated that race without a doubt. When the first time he got to me, my father was like, here comes the leader. By the time he got around, I spotted Ryan and he said, "You're clear, no pressure out back." Like, there was nothing, no other trucks coming. When Heim got around me, I just was still just running my own thing. Like, there was not a group of trucks he brought with him. He just dominated that race. That guy was flying for sure. And I think that, coming out of 2, you just plant the throttle and go. And getting up in the marbles, he just planted that throttle probably and just it couldn't stick. Nothing. Same thing he did all day long was plant the throttle and go. There was so much grip, and the second he got to the point where there was no grip and a little loose, wasn't able to hold on to it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was a crazy finish, but I think just like we talked about after the Kansas weekend, it's another awesome finish for the Truck Series. We wish the broadcasting was a little bit better, but it's been an outstanding year for the Craftsman Truck Series compared to where it's been in the past. So I'm definitely happy to see that.
Yep.
And now it is time for our Dempsey fan question of the week. As I'm looking at my files here, and I have a handful of them available, and we're going to select one at random because they're all named Image in my computer, and I don't know which it's going to be. But the Dempsey, this was actually via DM. Somebody said they could not fit it in the question poll. So shout out to Gatlin Downey for this question, which I think is a great one. What would be Jason Alexander's advice to someone with no prior racing experience or sponsorship looking to find a way into any level of racing and how to go after sponsorship without sounding crazy? And after hearing Jason's story, obviously everyone viewing and everybody in here, we know that this is damn possible. So we'll let you have the floor, Jason.
Yeah, and that's really, truly a phenomenal question that a lot more people are trying to ask. And even, drivers that are still currently racing are figuring out how to find sponsorship. But, like I mentioned for myself, and I started racing until I was 19 years old, and I hopped straight into pro models. And I couldn't do that unless I had sponsors already on board the car. In terms of selling sponsors for other people or whatever it may be, couldn't race without partners on the car. So my best advice to go about it is, you want to start racing. First things first is figure out, what type of racing you want to get into, whether, it's ovals, road course, whatever that may be. and what it costs to do that, whether you're end up buying your own car or you're running for someone else, and figure out all the associated costs that come with that, because it's not just, okay, it's a couple $1,000s to go run this car for the weekend. Well, you also got a couple $1,000s in your equipment. Maybe you have travel. Maybe you need to save some in case you wreck. And these are all different things you need to know going into it. And then it's figuring out, my recommendation is maybe start somewhere not at Pro Late Models if you're, chopping straight into racing, somewhere a little easier to cut your teeth or it's a little bit cheaper. But figure out how to get there, start talking to teams, figure out what the cost is going to be. But ultimately, the first thing you need to do is try and schedule a test day. Go out there when no one else is out there. You have a whole day to the track, and just try and figure out how you can get faster, where your skill level lines up, and can you adapt and actually be successful at this. That may cost, like for me, that's what I did the first time out there. It was $2,000 for my first test day, and I sold everything I owned to buy all my gear and everything I could just to go out there and figure out for that one test day, can I do this, or is it something that I probably shouldn't continue? It went well. I learned so much, and it drove me to keep finding more. Once you have all that, then it's just figuring out who can you find to partner with you, whether it's a family member that wants to support you, whether it's someone who owns a local business. But what I would say is get on social media, start trying to build a brand for yourself. Even if you haven't raced before, start taking pictures, videos, documenting your time trying to get into a seat and what that takes. Build a little brand about you. Then it's just reaching out to people. The way I do it, and a lot of drivers do it, is through social media. Whether it's looking all for local companies. If you're racing at one track, like let's say example, you race in Hickory, so you just look at companies in Hickory or in the North Carolina area, stuff like that. It's not impossible. You can start racing at any age. I would not rule it out for anyone, but I would say it takes a lot of work. For every 1,000 messages you may send out, you may get one response back that says yes. That's kind of what I figured out as a metric. For every race I try and sell for someone, we try and reach out to close to 1,000 companies. And we may talk to 10 of those, and we may get one of those to come on board and sponsor us. So being able to not be defeated after the first no, and to be hungry and to keep going. If it's something you want, it's something you're truly driving for, you're going to find a way to find someone to put on board. But, start small, really being able to value those partnerships, whether someone gives you $50 or $50,000, being able to give everyone everything they can ever ask for what they're spending and more on top of that will allow them to come back on board again and to spend more with you again. Guys like Steven and Mason, we know, from guys that have been really part-time and now started to race more, how important it is to have those sponsors and how important it is for them. They're not just writing a check, they're writing your future. So being able to give them everything they could ask for and make that partnership worth it to them is huge. But what I would say is, reach out to other drivers, talk to someone, get with a team, see what a race day seems like, see how they make those partnerships work to other drivers. These are all things you'll be able to figure out. But no, I would not say it's possible. I would not say it's impossible. I would not say it's crazy. I would say anything's possible when it comes to racing. You just got to figure out what method works best for you.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I'm going to become a race car driver now.
There you go. You're ready for it.
Coming up.
I'm ready to go. That was really motivational.
That was a great answer. I mean, it really is all about, for me, when I was in go-karts, Dad made me go walk through. I'm from a small town called Sweetsboro, New Jersey. Dad dropped me off at Sweetsboro, and we walk into the businesses in Sweetsboro. I was like a 12, 13-year-old kid. I'd be like, hey, race car driver, want a sticker on my go-kart or my go-kart trailer. And that was, how I kind of learned the importance of these business relationships and establishing them. And funnily enough, one of the law firms my dad made me go to is now a law firm that I want to work at as an adult. So like kind of weird how that stuff sort of works out in other aspects of your life and you sort of figure it out. It's such a bizarre experience in professional sports or in any sports where you have to find such a substantial amount of money to go do it. And you got to want it, right? Like for me, and maybe even for you too, Jason, I think for you too, it was honestly Josh Ryome who taught me everything I know about, like, and maybe not him directly, but it was being in this atmosphere constantly that taught me a lot of what I understand about at least stock car racing. And if you're willing to want it, there's always somebody willing to give you a shot. There's always somebody willing to and for me, it was as simple as Josh paid for my licensing to go to NASCAR races when I was in North Carolina. So I could travel and talk to the drivers and talk to the crew and talk to what it really took to be a race car driver, right? And it was hard work, and it took a lot out of me at times, but it's how I learned to sort of understand the business and the importance of certain aspects of the business. So, not impossible if you're willing to do what it takes, but it's a grind, it's a challenge, it's a lot of people's lifeblood and what they do, and there always comes an intersection of ethics and morality and what you're willing to do to get sponsors, and finding sponsors where people will sometimes go to lengths that other people won't to maintain or poach sponsors or take sponsors. And it's a frustrating ball game, but if you're willing to play, it can be the most rewarding thing in the universe.
Yeah,
it's another great answer. Absolutely.
Beautifully said, Stephen. Beautifully said, Jason. And Jason, we thank you so much for joining us here at the Motor Stardom Show. Appreciate you watching in the past as well. And best of luck with everything. Thank you, always, for everything, supporting the brand. And we're going to certainly get you back on here soon.
Yeah, thank you all so much for having me on board. This is an awesome show and a great opportunity, and I hope to see you all soon.
Look forward to seeing it, Jason.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you all again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. And that was
All right.
Jason Alexander.
Before we wrap
Fantastic
up,
show. Steven has something to say.
oh yeah, sorry. When don't I have something to say, RJ?
Yeah,
This is true.
You're right. You're right.
Maggio, I'll come beat your ass. You are 2 rooms away, buddy. So this ass whooping has been brought to you by Tennessee Energy Couches.
We might need it.
Anyways, what I was going to say is I was going to tell a little bit of my Wilkesboro story, because I do have a story. Maggio had an off week. He was lounging on a beach in Florida, probably. Meanwhile, some of us were at the racetrack working hard. But as it turns out, my trip to Wilkesboro, which ended up being with some friends coming along, I got to stay and watch the heat races, went to the Jake Owen concert after. Was a great time. Great track, great atmosphere, sort of unbelievable. The credential hauler is 5 miles driving from the racetrack, far away. When you get there, because I had to pick up passes for people, you can literally hear the race cars echoing through the mountains. Like crazy shit. Awesome shit. Totally badass. Loved it. The atmosphere was awesome. It was great. They need a tunnel. They need a bridge. They need something, because that's kind of sucks for the teams to have to wait in between if you miss the gate open or close by a little bit. Other than that, fantastic. But this is what I want to talk about. Sorry that I'm rubbing my eyes so often. These North Carolina allergies are freaking heinous. I don't know what they have in the air in North Carolina, but it's freaking nuts. It's freaking insane how freaking bad the allergies are here. What I was going to say is I'm in Wilkesboro, okay? And 2 Truck had some issues all weekend long, was off the pace, was struggling big time. They make some adjustments. They get parked for minimum speed. Josh Ryome says, Malaz, go put the suit on. Gonna try and make minimum speed. I don't have a fire suit. I don't got anything. I had to squeeze into Josh Ryome's stuff. Now, you guys have met Josh Ryome. He is a skinny dude. Like, he is not big. I ain't fat, but I ain't skinny. Okay, I'm a bigger guy. Like, I am 5'10", 200 pounds, give or take. And Josh is probably like 150. Like, he is substantially lighter. So I'm in the hauler, like freaking zipping this shit up, trying to get into the suit. I finally get it on, okay? And the crew chief of the 2 was like, no, the only person who's allowed to drive it is Josh Ryome, which really sucked. But Josh Ryome comes back now and is stripped naked in his undies in the hauler. I'm out of the suit. I'm back in my RBR polo and jeans. Amir Alexander walks in to see Josh in his underwear, and it's like, NASCAR said we can't do it. We tried to make adjustments and it didn't work, and driver change counts as an adjustment. Josh walks out in his underwear to the NASCAR officials and goes right to him. And I loved every minute of it. But long story short, my Wilkesboro experience, almost got to drive, got to see Josh Ryome in his underwear, not really have a verbal argument, but like a demonstrative argument with a NASCAR official, and then got to enjoy a great concert with some friends afterward. Good time. That was my Wilkesboro experience.
Wow. There were no tweets, anything about Josh Rayom angry at the North Wilkesboro. I mean, we saw Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in his shorts last year, but this is another level.
This year.
I have tried, keyword tried, to stay off Twitter more than I have in the past. I've been moving away from the Twitter wars that I find myself in with people, and just learned to kind of ignore it. I kind of ignore it a little more than I used to. It's not as important to me. I think it's because I've gotten, like, now that I have a real job, like I work, in a professional field, I'm done making myself look like a dunce on social media sometimes. It was fun. It was a good time. But now it's like, real life hits you and you kind of got to. Yeah.
That's fair. It's Steven's got to stay off Twitter a little bit. I'm not talking about hot dogs anymore. And Mason, what's your resolution?
Mason needs to stop making women fall in love with him. It has been a topic of – this is how we end the show every week, I feel like now. We got to stop because it's getting weird.
You brought it up.
You started it because for the first time we are physically in the same room together in like a long time. And the conversation in the RBR shop somehow ends up at how many women Mason Maggio polls. And like literally the conversation, this is a true quote, was either Mason Maggio has, I don't even know what this means, inevitable Riz, or he's got a giant ding dong. Those were the two options. Like, it's surreal. Maggio.
Gosh, go get him.
Oh, the door's locked. He can't get in here.
Oh,
he can't.
That's no fun.
Damn it.
Yeah, he can't get in here because I'm in.
I about fell out of my chair there.
I'm in JR's. Notice how I start talking about Maggio's ding dong and the viewership skyrockets. I don't know if you saw that, but we went from
I definitely don't. I don't pay attention.
We went from 3 Instagram to 9 Instagram viewers away. Yes.
Oh my god.
You can feel Maggio's aura from 2 rooms away. That was a legitimate. You need to show that question on the screen because that's a great question. I felt Maggio. I felt Maggio's aura from miles away. I knew when he got back into North Carolina here.
I have a lot of shit still on here.
So that is
that. It's not sucking today. It's RBR Wi-Fi.
Well,
I don't know. That was my Mason Maggio RBR story. That was how we end the show.
Can I give my actual resolution though?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Well, I'd say there's a lot of them. That's not one of them. I'd like to think that's a step up from where I've been in the past. But what was your guys' resolutions again? One more time, just so I can.
Steven's staying off Twitter. I'm done talking about hot dogs on live stream. And
all right.
This is in response to Mason Maggio, by the way. Can you read that, or is it inverted?
It's inverted. I can't read it, and I'm afraid to read it.
Hold on. Show it again.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no. Wow.
Hold on. I got more of them. Wait.
No. No, we can't go on like this.
I don't know. I have the mirror ready.
I'm scared. Yeah, I'm scared, bro.
Completely different person, by the way. Flip it.
Oh.
Okay.
Big Mason.
That's good.
Okay. That scared me for a second, but
no, okay. I would never show anything. Oh, that was weird. I did not like it the other way. I like it this way. I would never show anything inappropriate, but I would show. I do get. It is unbelievable the amount of funny texts I get about Mason Maggio in a given week. It's actually become a daily routine in my life, and it has become my platform in the last 5 minutes of the Motor Stardom show every Tuesday.
It's a glaze. Well, we got a lot of Mason Maggio fans. We got maybe a few Stephen Malazzi fans. I don't know who's an RJ Starcivic fan, but
I am.
Oh, thanks.
I did show while I was talking about Maggio to a girl today. I did indeed get a Snapchat that said, "You've got Maggio. Because I said I would get her a Maggio hero card because she loves Maggio, and I was like, she then responded after I told her that and said, "All I need now is RJ," Real, that did happen.
Real talk. That did
It
happen. That did happen.
Yes. So I
Well,
did.
I didn't have
RJ, if you were with
RJ
me in person,
Starcivic.
I'd dab you up right now.
Yeah, true.
Hell
RJ
yeah.
Starcivic hero card coming.
Can this work if we tried it? Hold up. No, like I think we got to do the fist pump, but
Can we make it a triple fist action?
hey, oh
Oh,
wait,
down here in the corner.
Yeah.
Ah,
This is
okay.
deteriorating.
There we
So
That was interesting. Oh,
on this
yeah, it
note,
was.
hold
on
on.
this note,
We have people to thank. We have previews
We
to
do
do.
have people to-
I
Be
was
1
gonna
second.
do it.
Oh well, it's one that you may not know. So give me
Okay.
one
Okay,
one,
let
one
him
moment
cook,
here to
man.
sign
Let him
off.
cook.
Obviously, thank you to Densey Energy for sponsoring our show. It was another fan question presented by Densey today. Everybody get their Densey pouches out. Hell yeah. I'll get one soon. Obviously, we spread misinformation on the internet last week. We were going to have Brendan Poole on today, but unfortunately, he had things come up because he's a busy man. So we get to soak in his aura another week. Next week, now, I was going to say something on the show when you told me to commentate the finish. I think the three of us would be an incredible commentary booth. In my opinion, if you put us in a booth, I think we do an incredible job. So, not commentating, but next week we will anchor as the pre-race show to an iRacing series every Tuesday night called the Venom Truck Series, and their broadcaster who pairs with me for the Daytona Charity Shootout every year. We will talk some iRacing with some people, some NASCAR drivers that like to participate in iRacing as well. It's going to be a fun hour of pre-race anchor gooning coverage. I don't know. Whole bunch of stuff that we'll be doing on the show next week as a little pre-race show. And no, wait, that was it. Oh yeah, and shout out Outback Steakhouse because I messed up last week. Big shout out to Outback Steakhouse. I love Outback. I wouldn't eat steak from anywhere else except my own kitchen for dinner today.
Maggio has to shout out Outback Steakhouse too because I'm pretty sure that's what the team is getting for dinner.
Yeah, big thank you to.
What the hell else do you guys eat?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
I don't know.
It's
What do you
good.
mean?
Dude, I'm gonna be real. No, Steve, I'm gonna give Steven a little bit of credit. Very rarely do we do this, but I'm gonna give him credit. He hooks us up with Outback, and it's great. We get buttloads of stuff. We've had it at Homestead. We had it at Bristol when I came and watched the truck race, hung out with those guys. And now I'm here and we're going to have it again. So big thank you to Steven and everybody at Outback for the incredible support and being able to feed our hardworking guys at Rio Brothers Racing. So that's, yeah. So big thank you to Outback. Got to give credit where credit's due. We're so back. It's not even funny.
Woo!
It's insane.
All right. And so on that note, unless Steven's going to run over and beat up Mason Maggio in the other room.
Can we end on Mason Maggio, Stephen Malazzi tickle time?
We could.
No, I'm kidding. That'd be really weird.
I'm locking the door. I'll be back.
On that note, on Maggio locking the door, I'm Stephen Malazzi, the guy who's not in picture. That's NASCAR driver Mason Maggio. And this is RJ Starcivic. And you know what we make up? We make up the collective cast of the Motor Stardom Show, sponsored by Densey Energy Pouches. We do this every Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Come on and join us. We've got great guests. We've got great conversation. Is it the most intellectual show in the world? No. But who wants to watch the most intellectual show in the world? We make it racing interesting. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
The music's not working for the outro. I don't know what's been wrong with the music.
No.
We're having technical issues. This is ridiculous, but just imagine the music playing. Or
here, I'll make music. Okay.
For the outro. All right, let's go.
Motor Startup Show. Motor Startup Show.
And
what the? Always love Maggio.
My gosh.